Welcome back, folks. The American Immigrant episode number five.
Yes.
Oh, man, Alex is in such a great mood
I'm
today.
in a wonderful mood.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
He should be though. Because guess what Alex did this past weekend? What did you do, Alex, last weekend?
I hosted for Colin Quinn. Oh, God.
What did you do again?
Hosted for Colin Quinn
Hosted for Colin Quinn!
for two nights in Poughkeepsie at Laugh It Up.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Cal Getter for
Yes.
the booker and promoter for
Big up,
giving me
Cal.
the chance to do that. That's great.
Yeah.
Colin was great. I got to meet his cousin.
No. Tell us what that meant to you. This is like your first A-list legendary comedian that you had the privilege
Is
to
he
host
A-list?
for.
Is he really? He is, right?
Comedically, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not really worried about commercially.
Yeah.
We're worried about, his comedic prowess.
Now listen, I'm going to say right now, and I'm not being, as comics, we're always joking around, there's like a weird punchline and a twist at the, I'm not going to, just what I'm saying. Everybody who reached out to me on social media and gave me like, even a little high five, little thumbs up thing, or a little heart, thank you, because it helps.
Yeah.
A lot of people did. And thank you for everybody coming out. And David came out and filmed me for the second day.
Yeah.
And the first day he's like, I'm not coming out. I just stay home. It's raining, The second day he made it out.
But the second day was raining.
And you got to meet Colin for a quick sec. That was cool. Right?
Yeah. I told him that it was we were partners for the American Immigrant
for this podcast.
And he's like, oh yeah, another podcast.
No, he was dead. I said that. He was polite. He was nice though.
No,
right?
he was. He wasn't like celebrity.
No, man. He stood up to shake your hand. He could have been like, what's up, man?
Got up and
what's up, Jamaican man?
And
just like, can you get this guy out of here? I'm done with this Jamaican guy. No, Colin is really cool.
No.
And then what was I just saying? Oh yeah, thanks to everybody who gave me who came out to watch.
Yeah.
I have a ton of friends and family who came out.
Yeah.
And comedians and stuff, both nights.
Yes.
And Colin gave me some good advice, man. And this is the first A-lister.
Yeah.
I did open for, you know who? The guy who did the Blue Seas. Remember he did the
Paul Verzi?
No, not Paul Verzi.
Okay.
I opened before I did the Levity Live contest back in 2019, before COVID.
Who?
It's the guy who did Crank Yankers, the guy who created
Jim
Florentine.
Okay.
I can never remember I opened for him.
Yeah.
And he talked to us for 2.5 hours after the show.
Really?
It was me, Frankie Becerra, Frankie, and
Frankie
Sean
Becerra.
Barry was there, and
Barry.
then James, what's his last name? He's going to be watching this. James, I forgot your last names.
How many?
Remember James, who would always talk about his, who would always do the punk rock bits? Anyway, he was there.
Oh, you mean with the band?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I forgot your last name, James, I'm sorry. And we talked to him for like 2.5 hours. Cool. And then that's when I didn't know who he was.
Really?
And I came home and I'm like, oh, that's Bill Burr's good buddy. That's cool.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea who he was. I'm like, who's this guy? I just knew that he was the headliner.
Yeah.
I knew he hosted those VH1 shows.
Okay, yeah.
With Florentine. Remember? He would interview everybody.
So what exactly did Jim Florentine say? What did he say?
Oh man, this was like 4 years ago.
I know.
Just joking around about everything, about other comics and stuff.
Okay.
Nothing general. He didn't give us like comedy advice.
He was
But Colin, which I'll get to, gave
Exactly.
us good comedy advice and everything. So if you're a comedian and you're listening to this, I'm charging for the advice. $99.99. We're running a special right now. $79 if you could just. I'll give you the advice now, and it'll unlock after you've sent payment to my Venmo account. Imagine just open for one big A-lister, and then I just think I'm.
You got a head
no big head. No, honestly, man, I got a long way to go in this thing in comedy.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, Colin invited me to his house, and we had dinner with. I didn't. I made that up. But that's what happened in my brain.
Yeah. He's like,
in my brain before I met him, I'm like, oh, maybe he'll have me tour with him on the road.
Yeah.
Every comic thinks that though, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it happens. It happens.
But every comic wants it to happen. But you know what that is? You got to do it on your own. You just got to be good. Like what's his name? The famous comic said on a podcast I listened to. He said, you got to just be undeniable and kill, and then you'll get booked. Yeah. That's all you got to do, and that's what you got to do.
Okay.
And there's no shortcut to this thing. There's no shortcut.
Even if you blow up on social media, and you've got a million followers or millions of followers.
Yeah.
Bookers would definitely have you in their clubs. Why? Because people are going to come to see you.
Yeah.
However, when they see you and you're not good, they're like, oh man.
That's where you don't have unlimited opportunities, but unlike acting, you do have several.
Right.
Where you'll get in front of people who have gatekeepers who can move you along, but you got to be good. You got to do good.
I'm glad
you can't choke.
Remember that that word, gatekeepers, because I want to come back to that a little later. But yeah, so let's start off with...
So wanted to try to give the tips, what Colin told me?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what Colin told me.
Okay.
He said, you want to surround yourself with Jamaicans. Or people from Barbados, it's the same country. And I got it. Oh man. And I'm a little upset about last week or 2 weeks ago, where you're like all laughing at me that I had sex with my sister or something. Everybody saw that on social media, right? First of all right? It's like a politician here. Like Cuomo. First of all, you know.
First of all.
Yeah. Shout out to Dave Seitzik, who does a great Cuomo impression.
Yeah, I didn't ask about her panties.
Yeah.
Panties.
So anyway, so what Colin told me was if you're a comedian, he came up to me and I think I did my CAT scan bit, which people know this joke, and he said, "That's great, but you gotta assume the audience knows nothing about that bit. So when you're in the hospital, describe what happens at the hospital and what happens at the zoo." That's one of the punchlines in the bit.
Yeah.
He says, "What happens when you get there?" Well, describe it in detail.
Right.
Paint a picture in their head.
No, hold on. Now this is a veteran. Telling you to go into detail
of your joke
about your bit, right?
And he said something clear. He said, "Do not rely." He said, because if you go right to the punchline or one or two taglines and punchline, you live and die by that punchline. Right. And listen to what he said. He said, you want to get there slowly, so there's little taglines along the way. So if the punchline doesn't hit, it's still funny.
Right.
It's still funny. You still had taglines along the way.
So let me ask you this now. Have you ever heard comedians say, "Oh yeah, don't drag it out. Don't be too slow. Get bam, bam. Get
1, 2, 3 punchline." No, that's a certain kind of jokes. Yeah.
No. You know what I mean?
No.
But that's
not true.
Right.
And then he said this. He goes like this to me. He loved my material about my daughter. He liked the material about being an Eastern European immigrant, which I knew that night.
Right.
And then he said, "That's memorable."
Right.
I got him doing my Colin impression.
Yeah.
He goes, "That's memorable." I can't do it. But he goes, "That's memorable. That's something you got to talk about because a million comedians just do jokes."
Right.
Who's going to talk about being Eastern European, about this unique story in healthcare and this? That's memorable. That's what people remember. You forget you laugh at a joke, but you forget the joke.
Right.
They're not memorable. Boom, boom, joke, joke, joke. Talk about something that's memorable. That's you. That's unique.
So again, this is a legend. This is a veteran saint telling you, you know, based on you, who you are, what you bring, you talk about that because white people remember that. Now
then I gave him some advice. I said, "Colin, I know you're doing this for 40 years. But I'm in it for 5 years, and I just need to tell you, you got to change." Just kidding. Come on, you crazy.
You told him your Jamaican accent needs work. You told him that, didn't you?
My Jamaican accent
needs
work?
His Jamaican accent needs work.
Who, Collins?
Yeah.
He did a Jamaican accent?
No!
He did one time, though, on stage. He did do a Jamaican accent.
I don't know. Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
In one of his specials.
Really?
He did. Yeah.
Was it horrible?
It was very short. It was quick.
Was it like... Shane Gillis on Saturday Night Live. Father Lawrence.
What'd you think of his accent?
The whole skit.
Hush child. He's like hush child.
The whole sketch was funny, right? Because in that particular incident, it wasn't going for accuracy on the accent. The whole setup of the sketch was funny, based on a video that went viral. You do know that, right? That sketch was based on a video.
A lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until you told me.
Yeah, because there's a video with the actual guy singing, because he's doing it in a dancehall reggae style. Under the blood, basically, under the blood, right? So it sounds like a dancehall song, but it's
do that again. Do the rhythm
under
again.
the blood, me say me under the blood, under the blood.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus,
that hurt me doing it. That hurt me doing it.
Jesus, don't cover me.
That was hard to do.
Under the blood, me say under the blood.
Can we edit that out?
Anyway.
Don't leave that in, please.
But I like the way that Saturday Night Live captured that particular moment.
Yeah.
Because that was funny. Then he was like, "You see, family, church is church," and then all of a sudden he broke into this.
Yeah.
accent.
And listen,
that was hilarious. It was hilarious.
I had to write down what Colin told me, and the other.
Oh wow!
You know what he told me?
What else?
I don't know. Can I? He said and now people are listening to that advice, and that's not what he does. He doesn't really talk specifically about his family. are about his memorable, about stuff.
Well, no, because he's 40 years into the game.
Right. But you know what he told me?
What?
And I told you this. He said, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it that way. I would do it about personal, make it memorable bits about my life or about things that happened to me. Because his thing is more history.
Right.
He goes into, it's really history, politics,
right.
and how it relates to living in New York,
right.
Brooklyn, and how New Yorkers. He makes fun of the whole New York vibe and how we're different than the rest of the country, how it relates to history.
And like pop culture. Because he did some brilliant stuff. He mixed with Shakespearean language with what's happening now.
Yeah.
With like some really up-to-date slang.
And he told me if he did it all over again, he would do it the way he's telling me, which was memorable bits.
Wow. That is pretty interesting.
You know, when you think about it, there are those comics like Attell, who you don't know anything about him. He doesn't talk about anything.
Right.
It's just, but you have to, if you're going to be like Attell, you got to have perfect.
He's a murderer though.
Perfect murdering jokes.
He is a murderer. Like every 15 seconds.
So if you don't have perfect murdering jokes,
yeah.
you got to be, now who can do that? Who has that quality, that skill set?
Right.
You know, if you can't do that, you got to have good stories about you.
Yeah.
Memorable stories.
I mean, I do some stories, some bits.
He has Jamaican. He's got stories about back in the old day, in the old country.
He's
Jamaica.
He's trying to get me back so bad for that last Slovak bit. He's trying. But this is what I do. He's realizing that.
Driving here, I got so mad when I saw that skit. I was driving when I pulled over. I was like, well, I went like this. Well, there's more people in Slovakia than Jamaica, so Jamaicans, there's more of us. 5 billion Slovaks. It was like 3 million Jamaicans. I got all mad. My brain was like, what are you doing? What are you getting mad at? Who are you getting mad at? They didn't even do anything to you. I'm like, you're not even mad at the Jamaicans. I'm mad at one guy from Barbados. I was like, who do you think he is? Who do you think he is? I'm from Europe. I'm cultured. That went through my head. I'm from Europe. How dare he?
Stinger. But okay. So how do you plan then on, because you gave me the same advice. So it's just, I got it indirectly. I only met him for a brief 2-3 minutes. So how do you plan to implement that going forward?
I have a lot of jokes that are just jokes.
Right.
I have midget, like I have a couple of good midget jokes.
Right.
Well, let's say midget. You gotta go like this. David told us, you can't say midget, you gotta go midget. Like, I love that. You go midget, midget.
Yeah.
Like you're not, like you're trying to, not say it too loud. No, but you don't just do those jokes, you incorporate it into stories so like if I'm doing a joke about my kids, I can somehow weave in a midget joke.
Right.
Or weave it into something that might have that could be a little bit of a side segue.
Right.
But don't just do midget jokes.
Right.
It's not memorable. It's like going up on stage and doing one-liners about knock, like jokes. Just a lot of comedians, they do that though, and some of them can get away with it, like Wright. Steve Wright would do just dry one-liners. Like I said, you got to be Steve Wright to tell those guys are amazing at it. If you're not amazing at it, you got to weave it and make it personal.
Well, so then let me ask you this then. Who are your, I don't believe really and truly in the top 5, but because comedy is so subjective, right? I don't necessarily believe in like a top 5 or top 3, that kind of stuff. Who are your, even though I don't believe in it, okay, who are your favorites, I should say? Maybe top 5, top 3, your favorites.
Top 5? Okay. Favorites?
For Alex.
They're all black comics because I'm pandering. No. All top favorites? Oh, man, you put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Bill Burr.
Okay.
David Tell. Louis C.K., but not anymore. Bill Burr, David Tell is still kind of. Bill Burr, David Tell, Louis C.K., Chappelle, and I like Gaffigan.
Jim Gaffigan?
I like how he... Yeah, but there's more.
Yeah.
This is a hard question. I'll go home and be like, oh man, this is the other 5 I could have put in there. But by far, definitely Chappelle, Burr, CK, those 3, and Eddie Murphy. When I was really young, when I was 14, when I was watching Dice Clay and Eddie Murphy, sneaking Dice Clay because I get in trouble. He was so filthy. That his humor is for 14-year-olds though. It's for high school kids.
Is it?
But
is it?
Yeah. Well, it's not as good as Murphy's was. I thought.
No, but I've heard a comedian say.
Never heard Pryor once.
Yeah.
Never heard Richard. I watched one special.
But if you watch his special, I think it's live from the
Sunset Strip
in 1979.
Sunset Strip.
It's still funny today.
It's hilarious. Only special I've seen though.
It's still funny today. Nearly 50 years later.
Never saw more than 2 minutes of George Carlin. I never found him funny. But
Really?
that's my taste.
You know what?
That's our taste.
Ari Spears shares that sentiment with you. He's like, I don't get the whole. He's like, I don't really get the whole George Carlin.
That's not his thing. Yeah.
But right, and that's why I said comedy is subjective because, okay, do you know Darnell Rollins?
I'm already thinking 5 comics I could have named. Yeah. There's so many I
But
missed.
do you know Darnell Rollins?
Darnell Rollins, love him.
He
I know who he is.
He's like, yeah, I love him. Like, he was great. He was great in that thing.
I like hot sauce. I'm like Hillary Clinton. I like hot sauce too. Keep it in my pocketbook.
Yeah.
Black people like me, right?
Alex Clinton. No, because there was this thing with Corey Holcomb saying that Darnell is a mild comedian, which I don't agree with.
He's a mild?
Yeah. I don't agree with that. I mean, I watched his special because I downloaded it to Netflix.
Darnell said Corey Holcomb is mild?
No. Corey Holcomb said
Darnell
is mild.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was because it was funny. It was funny to me. Listen, I was on the plane watching. I laughed out loud several times. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
man.
I just
you're bringing my memories right now. When I was a teenager, I would stay up. I was like from 15 to like 18. I would watch Def Comedy Jam religiously with my brother every Sunday night. I forgot it came on before in Living Color or after. I forget. This is going back in the early 90s. See, we watched Def Comedy Jam.
I didn't have access to Def Comedy because I didn't have cable. But in Living Color, of course.
Did they have electricity in Barbados?
No, I was here. But obviously, but I couldn't watch that because I grew up, strictly religious, man. So we couldn't have too much of that at all. I was so fortunate I was able to watch Hot Resort. It had titties in it. You know what I mean? I remember I got the.
I like how you have to act out titties.
I got the VCR. And I got the tape. I knew it had boobies in it. So I tried to watch
breasts.
it.
Breasts, you can say. He won't have to beep that
Okay.
out. Breast.
You got to beep out titties?
I think so.
Oh my
man, breast. Just say
so
breast.
it had some tickle bitties. You ain't gonna. So they had some tickle bitties. So I knew because I heard. Yeah, they got tickle bitties in there. So my aunt chooses to sit down in the chair as soon as I put the VCR in to watch Hot Resort.
Oh.
So I paused it.
Everybody went stiff immediately
So I paused it, and I went like I was doing something, Normally she used to sit on the stairs, but today she came right and sit right in the living room.
How old were you?
Oh, man, I was about, I want to say 14 around that time.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm like, I kept pausing it, and I kind of looked suspicious, right? And then I pressed play, and I left the room. So she was on the phone talking, then the next thing you know, here come these these tick old bitties.
Nice.
And she was talking and then she was like, all right. And I acted like, oh, wow. And the very next day I had a talk because we had just come from church. She was like, did you know that video contained nudity? I was like, no. All right. Because then she started getting into, sex and this and that. And I could have freaking, if I could have melted and crawled out of the vehicle, I'd have done that. Once they had the sex stuff. But yeah, that was
you know what's hilarious? Right now, there's people in public access radio, TV, that have been watching this for the last 4 shows that are like, well, if they're going to talk about titties all day, they're talking about breasts all day, I think I'm just going to stop watching.
No, I don't think so. They're like, tell us more about the big old titties. Oops, the tick old bitties.
Yeah, man. So what else? So with comedy, what else have we got?
So let me ask you something. So who would you say then is your comedic influences, or who you like? Because I'm a big Godfrey fan.
By far, comedic influences. Yeah. By far, I started watching Louis C.K. before Bill Burr, and then Bill Burr later in like 08, 09.
Yeah.
2000. And those two guys.
I like Godfrey. I like Ari Spears. I like Corey Holcomb as well. He's as dark as he is. Humor is cheese. But I like those 3 guys. Jim Gaffigan as well. I like Leanne Morgan. You know what I mean? You know Leanne Morgan? Leanne Morgan. Tennessee, my little old mama. Yeah.
I never watched a lot of the Southern. I never watched Ralphie May. People love Ralphie.
Yeah,
he was funny though. I watched him later on.
He was funny, man. dude was funny.
And then the thing I forgot to mention, which Colin made fun of me for at the show,
Yeah.
is the second night when I brought him up,
Yeah.
I just for some reason was like, I know, I'll mention how he was the first pro comic I ever seen. So me and my wife was my I don't think she was my fiance at the time either.
Okay.
This was in late 04, maybe early 05,
Right.
maybe 06, something like that, maybe 7. We went to the cellar and we saw Colin Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
He did like a pop in at the end for
right.
like 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it was great.
Yeah.
And now when I went to this
Yeah.
and I met him and I'm like, I'm on the show with this guy.
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
like surreal.
Yeah.
You know?
And you
But
said,
then I introduced him the second night and I'm like, he told me, he's like, to be fair, he's like, don't give me a big introduction.
yeah.
You know, just say, he was like, just give me, it's fine, just say anything, you know?
Yeah.
And so I decided to actually not do that. The first night I was like, bring some energy, this guy's a legend, the one and only, you know? The second night I'm like, he's the first guy I seen when I watched, and he comes up and he goes, he's like, I love how Alex is the first guy I ever seen. He made it about him.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, this guy made it about him.
And then he was
He was like, yeah. He was like, oh, I was the first one, but he's up. That was funny.
But
That
he was
funny.
great because he even
was.
came up to me before the first and second show and was like, how do you say your last name? I was Kolar.
Yeah.
I said, just anything, Kolar. How do you say it? Kolar?
Yeah.
Kolar?
Yeah.
And he said it properly.
Yeah, he
learned
did.
it.
He did.
He
He
took
did.
his
He
time
did.
to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then he shit on me.
Yeah. It was good. It was good.
For making it about me.
So let me ask you, where you're at today in comedy, just like me, where I'm at today.
Yeah.
We do a bunch of shows together. You actually got a show right after.
I got a show
You
today.
got a show tonight and tomorrow.
If you're watching this, it already it was in where in Newburgh and in Newburgh and Toasted.
Toasted, yeah.
For
And
Gilbert
tomorrow-
Hernandez, shout out.
And tomorrow is Rhino.
Tomorrow I got a show at Rhino Comedy Club, you know, and what else? I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay, so I'm saying where you are now, given the advice Colin gives you, you think once you implement that advice, you know, in terms of getting better, because the overall goal is to what? To be what?
And there's more advice he gave me.
Right.
So I hate to interrupt you, but he told me,
Got
we
your-
were talking
got your light
about,
on, yeah.
my light is on, he told me, he goes, how many times you getting up? He's sitting there, he goes, how many times you get up? And I go, well, if I got a show, like this week I got 2, I'll do 1 open mic.
Mm-hmm.
But if I got 1 show, I'll do like 1 or 2 open mics. If I got no shows, I'll make sure I try to open mic twice.
Yeah.
Not once.
Right.
You know? And he was good. But you remember, he goes, writing is more important. You know?
Wow.
He goes, writing, you want to write more. Getting up is good, but writing, make sure you're writing. Writing is more important.
Because you know-
Now, but that means he's already, now if you're listening to this and you're 1 year in, no, you need to open mic and write.
Right.
But me and Dave, Dave is doing it a while. I'm doing it for almost 6 years. I'm comfortable on stage.
Yeah.
I need to open mic if I have something to say, work on
Right.
material, not for the sake of being comfortable on stage.
Correct.
Which you need to do the first 0 to 3 years, maybe you would say. Right?
Well, it
Something
depends
like
on your level of comfortability, because there's some
Yeah.
people that get comfortable right away, and there's still
Yeah.
some people been doing it 10 years and still nervous.
Oh, I've seen people comfortable year 1 with 0 material.
Right, which is
They
hilarious.
look like Dave Chappelle comfortable on
Yeah,
stage. I'm like, son of a bitch, how come I can't be that comfortable? Right? They come up there, they're like leaning on a stool,
Yeah.
like, let me tell you a story. It's horrible. They're not funny. But they're comfortable. They're like 2 months in.
I've seen people concentrate, like say it's the mic, they hold the mic like this. Yeah, so this goat, and you're like, what? But you're just holding the mic, yeah. So this goat, my girlfriend. You're like, oof.
But yeah, he said writing is more. How much time do we got, Terrence? 5 minutes? Oh, okay.
Jeez, I know that
Yeah,
was gonna
5
fly,
minutes
but
left.
yeah.
So he said writing is more important. That's, and he's right. We write out the bits.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I started, because I used to have notes on my phone, but when I start to physically write your jokes out, you see them, you kind of remember them better, and then also too, it makes it better. You could improv in the moment, add something to it. You know what I mean? So I got my book that I write.
So
you
I
know?
started. If we mentioned this in the first or second podcast, I started as an actor.
Yeah.
I was an actor from 09 to 14 for 5 years.
Yeah.
I would study part-time in the city. I go every week to the city, and I took a class every week with the same guy, Michael Beckett, who learned under Bill Hickey. And Bill Hickey is the one who taught Al Pacino how to act when he was young.
Yeah.
And this guy, Michael Beckett, who's still there in HB Studio, he taught me how to act. And he told me that when you sit down to write, how much time you got? Got 4 minutes.
Yeah.
When you sit down to write,
Right.
something else happens in your brain. You access a part of your brain when you're using your right hand, or if you're left-handed for writing.
Yeah.
And it goes into that creative part of your brain.
Yeah.
And it's different than writing on a keyboard.
It
It
is.
cannot be replicated. And he had a student that was arguing with him.
Yeah.
Saying, no, I use my keyboard because I could type much faster than I could. I think too fast for my own hand. And he goes, you're not listening.
Yeah.
He said, you gotta,
It's
you gotta
true.
write
I
with your
mean,
hand.
yeah.
We've been doing it for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do your phone or talk to text, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You can work out the bits. And things, right? When you sit down with that notebook, you're like, nothing's going to happen.
And then
stuff happens.
I had bits that I started, because I just came back from Atlanta, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I got my
Any
book.
black people in Atlanta?
A couple. So I was like, hey, but you know what? Nothing didn't really hit me because it was for work. And, it was real quick. Landed, okay, hotel, work early, drive 100 miles south, get ready for the next day. So it was not a lot of interaction like that to right. But, I did think of some things, and I just jot them down. I'll try them out and see how they go.
Yeah.
Try them out and see how.
But I asked Colin, what does he do? And he says he uses his phone to put down, like if he's on the subway and you see something, you put in there real quick, guy eating his boogers.
Right.
I've seen that one time.
Yeah.
And then whatever. And then, but he'll go home and he'll do it on his laptop, or he mostly uses this on a pen. Pen. He starts it on a pen and paper, he said, on a notebook.
Right.
And then when he's probably organizes on a laptop, because it's a lot of stuff in it. You've seen his bit. He's like a fountain of he's like a million taglines in his jokes. How good was this set?
That was really good.
It's going to be killer.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to see it, you're like, okay, this is how it's done. And meanwhile, as a comedian, you're looking to see, okay, how did he segued from this to this, kept this and kept going and kept the audience engaged.
It's all beautifully connected, right?
And for me now, I'm like, okay, how do I do that for me? All right? Do I then take his advice to you and elongate a bit, because there are many little, pockets of this and that here.
You know what I love about comedy though? I wanted to say this so badly.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this all week. He does it like that. Most people segue into stories, into beautiful bits, and they weave it all together, or they beautifully segue into another story. But yet there's these guys like Dave Attell who's who'll just be talking.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, you ever have a pillow fight with a baby and realize, what does he say? He goes, you ever drop acid and have pillow fight and realize you're holding a live baby? Or something. And he'll just go randomly somewhere else and he'll get a big laugh.
Right.
You can do that too, but you gotta be so good at it.
But that's why I say comedy is so broad.
Yeah.
Comedy is so broad. My style is different than your style. I love accents. You know what I mean? And people say to me, your accents are really good. Oh, I even a couple days ago, they was like, oh, you're in the wrong business. I said, no, I'm in the right business. I'm not getting paid for it yet. Like that I could just do this exclusively.
Yeah.
But, I'm a big accent guy. You know what I mean? I got islands and Africa and Europe and whatever else I can.
Scottish, Irish. It's almost over. It's 1 minute left.
This
Podcast is wrapping up, guys.
And remember I told you we talk exclusively about comedy. We always talk about comedy because comedy is what we do. But this has been, episode 5, man. This is pretty quick. You sure this was 30 minutes, man? Jeez.
Yeah, it is. He's not lying to us. It's 30 minutes.
Wow. But anyway, I am David Beckles Jr. Follow me on Instagram at BlackRockDave.
I'm Alex Kolar. Follow me at Big Alex Comedy, at Big Alex Comedy, and follow our podcast.
Yes, at American Immigrant Podcast. And lastly, our email.
What is it? I don't even know my email, dude. I don't know.
American Immigrant Podcast at gmail.com.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right, good.
Thank you.